نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله تعالى عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قال الله تبارك وتعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا يحل لكم أن ترثوا النساء كرها ولا تعضلوهن لتذهبوا ببعض ما آتيتموهن إلا أن يأتين بفاحشة مبينة وعاشروهن بالمعروف فإن كرهتموهن فعسى أن تكرهوا شيئا ويجعل الله فيه خيرا كثيرا وإن أردتم استبدال زوج مكان زوج وآتيتم إحداهن قنطارا فلا تأخذوا منه شيئا أتأخذونه بهتانا وإثما مبينا وكيف تأخذونه وقد أفضى بعضكم إلى بعض وأخذن منكم ميثاقا غليظا صدق الله العظيم اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد عدد ما ذكره الذاكرون وصل على سيدنا مولانا محمد عدد ما غفل عن ذكره الغافلون اللهم صل وسلم على عبدك ورسولك اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد أفضل صلواتك بعدد معلوماتك. Tonight inshallah we will cover 3 verses of Surah Nisaa, starting with verse 19, ayah number 19 of Surah Nisaa. 19, 20 and 21. These are the 3 verses that we will cover inshallah bi'idhnillah tonight. First, I will present translation of these 3 verses, and then we will go into the tafsir of these 3 verses. These are 3 very important verses of the surah, and they are in fact connected with the previous verses as well, and I will explain that in a bit inshallah. O believers, it is not permissible for you to inherit women by compulsion, and do not make difficulties for them in order to take back part of what you gave them, unless they commit a clear act of immorality, and live with them in kindness. For if you dislike them, perhaps you dislike a thing, and Allah makes therein much good. But if you want to replace one wife with another, and you have given one of them a great amount in gifts, do not take back from it anything. Would you take it in injustice and clear sin? And how could you take it while you have exposed yourselves to each other, and they have taken from you a firm and strong oath? This is the translation of these 3 verses of Surah Nisaa. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا يحل لكم أن ترثوا النساء كرها. O believers, it is not permissible for you. The word yahil comes from halal. In other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, O believers, it is not halal for you. And in Sharia, in Islam, the word halal is used for those things which are permitted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To us, most of the times we will confine the term halal into the halal meat. The first thing that will come to our mind when we say, is it halal, whether it's halal meat or not. When we ask about a burger, or when we ask about a sandwich, or when we ask about chicken or meat, when we say halal, so the first thing that will come to an ordinary person's mind is that they're talking about halal meat. But the word halal has a much bigger reference in Islam. In fact, there are two terms that go against each other, and that is halal and haram. They're opposite of each other. If something is halal, it cannot be haram. And if something is haram, it cannot be halal. But there's also another category that sits in between these two. As Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Al-halalu bayyin wal-haramu bayyin wa baynahuma mushtabihat. That halal is clear and haram is clear. The things that Allah has made halal, they're clear. And the things that Allah has made haram, they're also clear. وَبَيْنَهُمَا مُشْتَبِهَاتٌ. But in between these two, there are also some matters, some things that are not clarified. The way halal is clarified or the way haram is clarified. And these things are known as mushtabihat. The things that are doubtful in one way or the other. Either there's a doubt in that being halal, or there's doubt in that being haram. Sometimes the doubt is about something being haram, and sometimes the doubt is about something being halal. So sometimes you pick up something and your guess is that it is halal, but you have a doubt that it might be haram. And sometimes you get something, you pick up something, and your guess is that it is haram, but you also have a doubt that it could be halal. So sometimes the doubt is regarding halal, and sometimes the doubt is regarding haram. So this is why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, وَبَيْنَهُمَا مُشْتَبِهَاتٌ. That in between these two, clear halal and clear haram, there's something else as well, which is called mushtabihat, which are the things of doubt. So there are things that fall in this category, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's advice for an ordinary person is that فَمَنِ اتَّقَى الشُّبُهَاتِ, that whoever saved himself from the doubtful things, then he saved himself. Then he is protected. And whoever fell into the doubtful things, he did not say that he fell into haram, because there is a doubt. And a doubt is not equivalent of certainty. Never in Islam doubt will become equivalent of certainty. A doubt will remain a doubt unless it ascends to the level of certainty. So as long as it remains a doubt, you cannot call that either halal or haram. You can say that assumingly or presumably it is halal, or presumably it is haram, but you cannot say with certainty that this is halal or this is haram as long as there is a doubt. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that those who will save themselves from falling into the matters of doubt, they will save themselves. They will protect themselves. They will guard themselves. And those who do fall into the matters of doubt, then there is more likelihood for them in falling into the haram, in falling into the wrong path. So halal, in other words, is that which is permitted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or through the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. On the other hand, haram is that which is forbidden by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or is forbidden through the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu, O believers, La yahillu lakum, it is not halal for you, An tarithun nisaa karha, that you inherit woman with compulsion. What does it really mean? There could be two meanings of this. Either you inherit woman means whatever wealth they might have, you inherit their wealth from them. Or another meaning of this ayah is that you inherit woman, you own woman. You take them as your ownership. So these are the two meanings. And the background of this ayah is that in Jahiliyyah, in the days of ignorance before Islam, the custom was very unjust towards women. The culture in that part of the world in particular was very unjust towards women. Women were not given their rights. Women were not treated right. Women were deprived of their possessions, of their ownership, and of their wealth. So women were really the victim of all the cruelty and all the injustice and oppression. They were the focus, they were the center of all the brutality and all the injustice and oppression being committed at that time. They were the biggest victim. This is why Islam came to defend women again and again, because there was no one to defend them. All people were taking advantage of them. All people were part of oppressing women. So Islam came to defend them. Islam came to protect them. Islam came to give them rights that were right for them. So what was happening at that time, when a woman would lose her husband would die. So most of the time, people from the family of husband, the relatives of the husband, deceased husband, would not only inherit the wealth left by the husband, but they would also take ownership of the woman. So there are different explanations in how they would take ownership of the woman. But in general, there were one of the customs that was prevalent at that time was that the relatives of the husband, they would take custody of the woman and they would treat her as their possession, as their ownership. So now they would have three choices. Either one of the family members would marry this woman if she was pretty, and if she was not pretty, they would do one of two things. They would either marry her to another person, either inside their family or somewhere else, or they would hold her and keep her until she would give away whatever wealth she had possessed, or she would die and leave behind whatever wealth she had in her possession. So these were the three things. One of these things was done to the woman. And all of these three options were based on injustice and oppression. None of this was right. So some incidents happened during the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, after which these ayahs were revealed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala totally demolished all those previous customs. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala established a new law that would give women their rights that they deserved. And in some cases, as Imam Hassan Bisri rahmatullahi alayhi mentioned,